So, Hoop, looking at you, you are incredibly sharp, smart. Have you ever failed in anything? I want to know about your failure.
Wow, that's yes, I mean I feel like I fail more than I succeed. And in particular I think I failed at quite many things. I mean in college I failed a number of classes because I was just really hard, and I had just come from like a very different educational environment, and so I struggled a lot finding my footing. There's a number of jobs I've been in where I was working on something, some project, and like pushing really hard towards a deadline. I remember in particular there was one deadline I was pushing towards. This was when I was working on Halo. I was working
Mhm.
on the cloud backend, and my manager could see how much I wanted this to work out, and he like pulled me aside one day, and we had like a 30-minute conversation where he was just checking in on me and saying, "How's it going?" and sort of making me realize that it wasn't the end of the world if I didn't meet the deadline that we had set. Like it wasn't going to be a disaster, and we would just sit
Mhm.
back and learn from it. And that was sort of one of my probably my first exposure to like thinking about things with a growth mindset. I typically take it pretty hard on myself. And
Mhm.
earlier on in my career, I would take it pretty hard on myself if I didn't do well or do as well as I was hoping I would do or as I was expecting myself to do. And I particularly have found that I suffer from a bit of an imposter syndrome. When I fail, I'm also like, well, you failed because you weren't good enough. Or even when I'm not completely failing, as I feel like I'm about to fail, I'm like, yeah, again, you're not good enough. You're definitely going to fail. I've
Mhm.
learned to confront that very directly, and also the most important way to confront it is like, well, failing is okay. I mean, don't accept it, but certainly
True.
don't treat it as something that is like defining or final.
So, to the audience, if they should pay attention that even you, who's a partner software engineering manager, who wrote so much code, important code in WCF and Zoom, you still feel imposter syndrome. So
Yes.
that's people to learn from, because I also, I think, face this all the time, that I don't belong here in Microsoft. I've been there for 15 years. I still feel, I just somehow got lucky and
Yeah.
sneaked in from a back door, because there were too many smart people. And I was just reading this book called Think Again. And in that book, they were talking about having the imposter syndrome is kind of a good and healthy thing to a certain extent, because it keeps you motivated to keep
Yeah.
pushing yourself for learning. So,
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial to keep yourself motivated. But it can sometimes take you a little too far in terms of
yes.
dealing with failure, and having a growth mindset is definitely a better approach than like accepting feeling like you're not good enough.
True.